زاهن ربای ازل من آهنم گریزم و از کهربای عالم من خشم کردم.
There's no doubt that had it not been for my personal circumstances, my own life experiences, my art would have never evolved. And so the only way I can explain about why, and this is a question that's repeatedly asked from me, why your work still relates to Iran, is because I have this perpetually unresolved relationship with Iran. And the art became a way to reconnect and to find a way to find some answers to my questions that are both existential but also very politically troubling. The truth is that the work never developed as a form of a strategy or like, oh, I could never see where things were going. It was developed very organically. I went to Iran after many years that I wasn't able to go back, and I started to go repeatedly. It left me a big impression. I was very, very interested in sort of analyzing, comprehending what had happened after the Islamic Revolution. But now I found myself back in New York. And so I felt, you know, maybe if I make some art, and this is before I had a professional career, that this, you know, this thread between me and my family and the country would still be alive. And so eventually this form changed because that relationship was broken once again. But I think that the evolution of the work has been always trying to find a way that I tell the story from my perspective, a story that it's obviously by an artist who's distant from her country, that is nomadic, nostalgic. I have never made work to claim that I know everything about Iran. I'm not a documentary artist. I don't know about the truth. My work is very fictional. It's very stylized. I am educated in the West, so I'm very conceptual. I started with photography, which was more about human portraits. I remain really fascinated by this idea of capturing the essence of human spirit and facial body expressions, particularly within the limit that we have in the Muslim world, which I find fascinating, and how expressive people could be simply by their eyes or their gaze and their hands, feet, etc. So this has been an obsession with me, how within this these parameters, these boundaries that we have, we could really explore bodies, female and male bodies. But then I became a storyteller. I moved from portrait photography to video and movie making. And so I feel like I've become, first I started with concept, like a little poem, then my work became like a novel, like a story. And this is the biggest evolution in terms of form, and for me to rediscover something in me that I don't have to be in bed all the time with the portrait photography, that I could take the challenge and see if I could really tell a story. But the stories still be very photogenic and very aesthetically designed. So I like that. I like the idea of starting new, starting fresh, putting myself on that edge, struggling a bit because I don't know the new form, and really being a student again. And that's been basically a character of mine, that as soon as I'm known as some sort of a signature work, I rebel against it. But now I'm back to, for example, the black and white portrait photography, but I'm making movies as well. And I like this flexibility. I never planned it like that. I think it's more like my own nomadic character. In this series that you see at Dirimart was, for me, like the last chapter of this series. It closed with this feeling of loss and defeat and sadness. And because I was in Egypt after the revolution, now I saw how people felt betrayed and really depressed. And so I went in November, and I also went with my photographer who had lost her very young child and was grieving, and the country was grieving. It was all about sense of loss, personal loss, national loss. So I decided to really focus on older men and women who may have been the family of the young who were at risk and maybe lost at some of them. But to really to feel the aftermath, the profound sense of sorrow. The video Overruled was actually created to accompany the Book of Kings, because the Book of Kings was so much about the people and the people of power, people who fight power and people who are power. And in this film, short video, we had a live performance that I edited I actually redesigned it for this video, which is essentially a court of law or religion who accuses the defendants, who are musicians, who are singing poetry of Rumi, of blasphemy. And it's really interesting. It's almost like if Rumi is on trial and who is accusing Rumi is the course of law and religion, who is not able to comprehend the complexity of Rumi's words, because Rumi is not afraid of God and he doesn't think God punishes, etc., etc. The singer is Mohsen Namju, one of our most amazing singers today in Iran, who's also living in exile. So of course this piece is very stylized, but so the men in white, as most of my men are really suggest the people of power. And I just wanted to play with the sense of absurdity and the ridiculousness of this trial, which actually is very practical in relation to the Iranian society today, because you often as artists find yourself in these ridiculous, absurd situations with the government, including myself, that I'm an artist, but my art is my crime. And that's really interesting. So really this video was to pay tribute more directly to the Iranian government and culture that finds its artists guilty.